I don't think you could see the whole stack. I'm gonna try to grab it. Can you see it? What have I done? Okay, in my defense, this was not all bought one shot. So this is a collective haul from the past month and a half maybe. And again, to my defense, about half of this is one series. So essentially it counts as one book, so it's not that bad. I am so excited to share with you all of the books that I got. All of these just make my heart so happy. There's a couple of books in here that I bought just because I was intrigued and interested, and you know, some people said they were good books, so I wanted to try them out. But some other ones I bought them because I knew I would love them, even though I haven't read them yet. I'm also very proud of myself because I've already read 2 books from this pile. So I'm already making my way actively through these books that I bought, which is really rare for me because what happens usually is that I buy a bunch of books, they go on my TBR stack, and then they stay there for years and years and years until I pick them up. So I am actively making my way through this. I already have a couple books that I know I'm going to be picking up within the next week or so from here. So I am very proud of myself and I'm very happy. Okay, let's go. Oh! I knew that would happen at some point. Okay, let's go through these books. The first book is The Blue Castle by Ella Montgomery. Ella Montgomery is one of my favorite authors of all time. I'm quite a few books into the Anne of Green Gables series, and I've never read any of her other works aside from that series, so I really wanted to venture into her other worlds, her other characters. In this specific one, we follow a 29-year-old called Valency. She lives in a small town in Canada, and Valency has been imposed all of her life specific rules about who she should date, how she should be as a woman, and she's just getting a little bit tired of the same narrative about what she's expected to do. So Valency decides to not do any of that and just follow her heart and do whatever she wants. So this is her story, finding her own happiness on her own terms. I have not heard anybody talk about this, so I don't know exactly what's in here or what to expect, but I am hoping for very beautiful nature descriptions because that's just Ella Montgomery's style, that's just what she's best at. So I really hope that's going to be in this book as well. And this is a book that I'm going to actually be picking up probably towards the end of this week, so I'm very excited about this one. I feel like every second video that I've made I've mentioned this author. At this point I'm so sorry, but I just have to mention her one more time because she's part of this haul. I'm talking about Abby Jimenez. I started my journey with her in April of this year, and I've just become obsessed, and I'm starting to slowly accumulate all of her books because I just love her. She is the sole responsible author for making me actually enjoy romance. I have 2 of her books in this haul. The first one is Yours Truly, which is the story of Brianna. Brianna is a doctor, and at the beginning of this book she's going through a very messy divorce with her husband who's been cheating on her. While she's going through this divorce, she's also dealing with some family difficulties. Her brother is very ill, and so she dedicates all of her effort and all of her time trying to take care of her brother, meanwhile trying to navigate her divorce, and she's also looking up for a potential promotion at her job. So she has a very tumultuous emotional situation at the moment, and then she ends up meeting a new doctor coming to work at the hospital. His name is Jacob, and the first couple times they meet each other, they are not very fond of one another, but slowly and surely they start to see each other from different perspectives, and obviously a little romance unfolds. I already read this book and I loved it so much. This was really cute. It's the second story in the Part of Your World series. And I also have the third story here, Just for the Summer, which I've also read. I could not find from the location where I bought these the first book in the series, which is Part of Your World, which is actually my favorite from the series, so I really hope to get that one soon as well. But just to talk about this one, Just for the Summer, follows the story of Emma and Justin. They both seem to be cursed with a very weird situation where they both date a person for a couple of months and they end up breaking up with that person, and that person ends up falling in love and basically finding the love of their life shortly after they had broken up with them. Because they are sick and tired of the situation, they decide to date each other to see if they can cancel out the curse. I think the romance in here was very, very cute and very cozy, but I also love, as I keep mentioning in all my videos, the way in which Abby Jimenez writes characters, and specifically their emotional development in all of her stories is really wonderful. But I found that in this story it was particularly touching, especially for the character of Emma, who has dealt with a negligent mother and a very difficult childhood. This was the perfect book for the summer, and obviously I know that a lot of people talk about it, but if you have not picked it up yet and you're looking for a beach read, a summer vibe read, this is definitely it for you. Next, we have an author that I've also started to fall in love with, I think last year, and I'm talking about Brandon Sanderson. And I found a very, very beautiful edition of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I am slowly trying to make my way through the entire Cosmere, and so whenever I'll find a beautiful edition that I like from any of Brandon Sanderson's works, I will definitely put it to the cart. So this is the case for this one. I absolutely love the cover on this. This seems to me as a very mysterious story. I think it's a story that blends dreams, imagination, magic, reality. We have Yumi, who is a very spiritual figure in the society in which she lives, and her role, to my understanding, is to perform sacred rituals to bless and to sustain her city. In her role, she has very specific rigid traditions to which she has to adhere in order to keep the safety of her city. And then we have Painter, who lives in a completely different location than Yumi, and Painter's role is to paint, but his paint is quite special. The reason why he paints is to capture and subdue specific monsters that live in the city in which he lives. So he also has this kind of purpose of keeping his city safe. One day, both Yumi and the painter wake up in each other's lives, and they start on a journey together, trying to find the way to trust one another so they can figure out what mysteriously happened and in what specific way their lives are interconnected. It sounds like a very creative story, just like all of Brandon Sanderson's. I don't know when I'm gonna get to this one. I think next I would like to pick up Elantris from him, but possibly after Elantris, this could be the one. So the next book that I want to talk about is a book that I've seen around, talked about a lot, and it just kind of sparked my curiosity. I think it's a book that would be considered dark academia. I am not a big fan of dark academia. I'm not a fan of murder mysteries or anything like that. So for me, that is not really a genre that I typically gravitate towards, but I'm really excited to give this one a try because I think it's also blending a little bit more literary fiction and potentially literature. Oh, what are you doing? Hey. Okay, we got distracted there. So the book that I was talking about is If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I think this follows the mystery of a death of a drama student, and we are told all the story from the perspective of one of his colleagues who has been in prison for this death. However, we're not sure whether he did commit the murder or not. And after he's released from prison, he starts to tell his side of the story about what happened 10-15 years ago when he was part of that group. I heard that this is an extremely lyrical work, and there's obviously a lot of references to Shakespeare, since all of the drama students were part of a group that liked to perform a lot of his plays. I heard that there's some toxic relationships in here, or toxic friendships. I think it's also a discussion about the power of performance and the blurry lines between performance and reality sometimes. The next book that I have here is one that I am personally very, very excited about. It's The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kiersten White. So this is the retelling or reimagining of a character from Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein, so the crazy scientist from Frankenstein, he was betrothed to Elizabeth, but in the original story we have very limited access to her perceptions and to her voice. And so this book is entirely from her perspective. We get to see her since she was a little kid, and she was adopted by the Frankenstein family. And then later on, when she becomes betrothed to Victor, and all the turbulences that she's put through because of his crazy scientific escapades. I'm really excited to pick this one up. I think I'll probably leave it for Halloween or a little bit later in the summer when I want something a bit dark after I've had all of my summer fun. I'm not a fan of reimaginings or retellings, but just because Frankenstein is one of my favorite classics of absolutely all time, I think this is one that I'm willing to give a shot to. Okay, we've almost made it to the whole series. I have one more book to talk about before we move to the bigger series that I want to show you. I found the most magical edition of Little Women. It's so gorgeous and it's also wintry. I am so excited about this book. It's one of those classics that always heard everybody talk about, but I just never owned a copy, and so I didn't end up reading it up until now. And now that I found this beautiful copy, I'm so excited to read it. I think it's going to be the perfect winter classic for my next winter. So Little Women follows the story of the March sisters, and it's a story about their coming of age living in 19th century New England. We get to follow the perspectives of all of the sisters with all of their desires, their goals, what they want to achieve. All of them are so different. We have a sister who is like super independent, super tomboyish, and then we have another one who is artistic. We have another one who is very soft and calm. And the other one is the eldest and is the most responsible of the group. And we just follow them across the years as they are trying to make sense of the life and as they are going through relationships. I think overall this is probably just a beautiful story about family and love, and I'm very excited to read it for myself. I have watched the movie. I can't remember which year's adaptation it was, but I really did enjoy the movie, and so I kind of know a little bit of the story already, but I'm sure that I'm going to enjoy the book even though I know the story, because I know it's gonna be just one of those very charming stories that you have to read for yourself. Okay, we have made it to the last part. These are 8 books that I'm going to be talking about at once because they're all part of a series, and that is the Anne of Green Gables series. I already had 5 books from the series, but I've never been able to collect the whole collection in one specific edition, and so now I'm so happy that I have, and I love these editions. I think these are the Tundra editions, and they're just gorgeous. I love the type of covers they have on them. Really beautiful. I really love the cover of Anne of Windy Poplars. They're all very gorgeous. I love them all. And so now I have the whole entire collection, and I'm so excited because this means that I get to continue my reading journey with this. So Anne of Green Gables is a series of 8 books that follow the character of Anne since she's a young girl, probably 9 or 11, I can't recall exactly. And then it follows her across her entirety of her life. And I think the last 2 books mainly focus on her children. Anne is a very specific type of character. She is an orphan, and she gets adopted by 2 siblings living in the countryside in Canada. And when she gets there, she is super excited about this new opportunity, new life for her. However, the 2 siblings are a little bit disappointed because they expected a boy. They expected a boy to help around with the farm, to help around with the garden, and they are very disappointed to see that they got a little girl instead. But Anne is really persistent that she wants to stay, that she's going to help, that she's gonna do her best, and so they end up allowing her to stay, and she gets adopted by them officially. And it's just the most charming story of Anne trying to make friends in this community, getting in all sorts of mischievous things. She goes to school in the village. She has a beautiful friendship that is blossoming with one of the girls in the village as well. And it's just a beautiful story about friendship, family, about found family specifically. And I just love Anne. I love her character. I love reading about her and her little escapades. I have read up to book number 5, which is Anne's House of Dreams. So this is the last book that I read, which is following Anne when she's, I think, in her 30s, when she gets settled down and married in her first house. And the next book that I have to pick up, Anne of Ingleside, where I think we follow Anne when is she in her late 30s, early 40s potentially, with 6 children. Follow Anne in this book take on the role of a mother. So I'm really excited to see how that will play out. And then I'll be left with only 2 books, Rainbow Valley and Rilla of Ingleside, both of which I think focus mostly on the perspectives of her children, which makes me a bit sad because honestly I just love her character and I love seeing life through Anne's eyes, and so it makes me a bit sad to know that the 2 remaining books are probably not going to be as much from her perspective, or we won't see as much of her character, but I'm still going to finish the series. I absolutely adore my time with each one of these books. There's a couple books here that I loved more than others, but overall it's a series that will be forever in my heart. The series as a whole will always be a 5-star for me. Okay, I won't take them all at once because I'm gonna drop them, but here we have half of it. Here we have the other half. These are all the books that I've accumulated in the last month or so, and I'm very proud of myself for having already started reading some of them, and these are books that are going to be keeping me company for the rest of the summer and going all the way up until winter with Little Women. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.